We got to mix the mission statement with the idea that everything is relevant. Our stand-up is relevant. Living in New York is relevant because it's all how to deal with day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Is that generally it? Yeah. And how the littlest things in the world ruin your whole outlook on life just because of one day when it's really not that big of a deal, but we've got to find a way to deal with our fucking anger, basically.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Power of Al. I'm Matt Fulcheron. I'm here with Brendan Tassif, Daniel Torrado.
Buongiorno. Buongiorno tutti.
We made. I know what that means. That means I'm good and you.
You're right, exactly.
Am I right?
No, buongiorno means good day.
Good day and
Bonjour.
you.
Bonjour in French. Bonjour.
What's buongiorno? Italian.
Buon means good. Giorno. Buon. That's in Italian. Buon is good. And giorno is day.
And this
Tutti means all. Buongiorno tutti.
And this is the Greetings and Salutations in Foreign Languages podcast.
There you go.
Boom.
Thanks. We all made it here today, which, well, listen, I just woke up here.
Did you?
But I still barely made it here today. 10:30, I was like, I got to get out of bed.
Wow.
I gotta fucking.
I wish I had that luxury.
Gotta get
so lucky.
This equipment set up.
Yep.
I gotta go make sure the car doesn't get a ticket. I gotta clean this place up.
Nice.
I gotta fucking get started, and I'm very good about doing my work. I have all the mental blockings in the world about starting my work. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do it. I don't ever want to do it. I always do it, and I just think it's because I'll feel like there's a negative reinforcement. If I think I'll feel terrible if I don't do my work. If I just sit here.
So you operate off of guilt?
Sometimes. Then I think that's the beginning motivator. I'm not like all excited, like, yeah, I'm about to do my work.
Right.
It's almost this feeling like, I don't know if I can start. And I don't know if I can do it.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy because I've done it every day for decades.
But shouldn't we live a life where we wake up every morning and we can't wait to start the day?
Yeah. Especially, and so that's one of the first things I do is I write 3 pages just to kind of get that done, just to see where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And I usually talk myself into doing my work just based on that kind of conversation with myself. Shouldn't you be excited? Look at all this stuff you got going on. Look at all these wonderful things in your life. Like I make myself write down what's good about my life, what I have exciting coming up. And then I'm like in the zone, but then I just want to keep writing about that.
Right.
And then it's time
Just
to
be like, man, this is awesome.
Right. And then I've got to like get everything together. Like I've got to make sure there's no dishes in the sink. I've got to make my bed. I've got to eat some breakfast. Maybe I put breakfast off until I get some work done sometimes.
Well, I think I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, and then I feel better about it, and then it's actually time to do the work, and I fucking do it.
Yeah.
But it always feels like I'm about to jump off a diving board or something. Like I can't believe I'm about to start working on my hour for my special I'm taking. This is extremely scary to me for some reason. And then what really helps me with something like that is I put on the timer and put my phone on airplane mode. I'm going to work on this for an hour. Mm-hmm. And then when I'm on the clock, I can do it for whatever reason.
Right.
And then it's the fucking next thing.
Yeah.
And the next thing. And then I got to go to the pool and swim and everything. It feels extremely difficult mentally, but I always do it. And if I don't do it, I feel terrible at the end of the day. And I don't even feel like I deserve to relax and watch TV and have
That's my thing.
a dinner and like I don't feel like I've earned the day in a way.
Yeah.
What's your thing?
My thing is when I go so a lot of times, because my body will naturally wake up after like 6 hours of sleep. So a lot of times I'll fall asleep around 2 or 3 and then around 8 o'clock I'm up. And it's like, get up now. Like you have it, like because you know that weird feeling when sometimes, I don't know, it's probably different with kids because they wake you up whether you're ready to or not. But when I naturally wake up after 6 hours, my body's like, let's go. Like we're ready. And a lot of times my brain will be like, yeah, but I don't have to be up. And if I fall back asleep, my whole day's fucked. Like I'm so tired, I can't get out of bed. And if I do that, that's my thing is like, I feel like I need to earn the day. So I will get up, go to the gym, then I eat breakfast, then I take care of stuff around the house, cut clips, do work. But if I end up like just falling back asleep and then I get up at like noon and then I'll go have like a shitty workout and then I'll go straight into the restaurant or straight into mics or straight into shows and I'll be like, you did nothing. Like it's very demoralizing. You're like,
and you're going to work, by the way.
Yeah,
you're going to work, and you said you worked out, and you're still like, I didn't do shit.
I didn't do, but because those are things that I do. I mean, it's one of those things that you do them so often on a daily basis that those are just part of your life. So if I go into work and I didn't cut a single clip, or I didn't go to a single mic in the afternoon, or I didn't like book a single show, I'm like, you worthless piece of garbage.
Which is a terrible way to talk to yourself.
Yeah, like we talked about last week.
I don't think it really works, but then does it though? Because there we are working all the time.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, is that really good? I don't fucking know. Yeah. It seems like it's good in a capitalist society. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I think to get to what you're saying and to tie it in with what you were saying as well, I think your space has so much to do with how you feel. And I'm not sure if we spoke about this before, but I believe that the outside space you live in is a reflection of your inside space. So if I'm going to work from home, I usually escape home. I usually go to a coffee shop. I love working in coffee shops because I feel like you have an office space for the cost of $3 and they give you free coffee.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Because you are there for 3 hours easily, at least I am when I'm writing, and for $3.
Yeah, because
$1 an hour.
I've thought about going to like one of those WeWork places or those little offices, but then I always come to that conclusion.
Right. No
it's
free coffee.
Yeah. And it's like $12 max.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can stay there as long as you want. You have to listen to some shitty music sometimes. But
there is something to say about, I'm going to play both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
When you go to WeWork, which I've never done.
Me neither.
But there is I've sat in those rooms for like a few minutes, but there is a very specific energy of people working and focused, which is motivating. When you go to a coffee shop, you can, you hear conversations, you have, people are in and out all the time. Sometimes it's harder to focus. Sometimes the vibe isn't right. But I go to a coffee shop to work regularly. But it's sometimes when I do stay at home, I cannot start working until the apartment is clean. The dishes are done. The living room looks not only presentable, but it's in a state where if I had guests over on a Saturday night, that's that sense of that's how I want to work. Or my bed. I got this from Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss I forget who he interviewed, but it was I'm not sure if he was Navy SEALs. Anyways, this guy said that every morning you start your day, first thing you do is your bed.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you do your bed, you could say that you've accomplished your first task of the day.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of accomplishment, like, all right, boom, the bed's already done. I've done something as soon as you wake up. And then when you take a shower, you walk back into your bedroom, oof, the bed's done.
Yeah.
Which is such a different feeling than when you take a shower, come back in the room, and it's a messy bed.
Yeah.
That reflects a lot on how I feel.
The messy bed is just like static to your brain.
It is. It really, that's beautifully said. It is beautifully said. And it's weird.
It's like an electric collar.
It's
God damn it.
Yeah.
When am I going to get my life together?
God, I'm a piece of garbage.
Yeah. It's like a reminder that you messed up. But it's at the same time, I read somewhere that it's an awful thing to make your bed right away because you need to air out the sheets because when you sweat, there's mites. And there's going to be counter argument for everything.
Yeah.
But I do love the idea of waking up and no matter how tired you are, first thing you do is you make your bed. And then you just you're tired, but you did something.
Well, what's funny too is it takes a minute and a half.
Yeah.
It seems like this
to almost flip your day.
Yeah, and it seems like a monumental task sometimes. Like, no, I'll do it after 18 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
I don't do it right away, and I don't feel the need to do it right away. I make a cup of coffee, That's my first thing I do. And trust me, there's no distance between me and that first task. I'm on that shit. Doesn't matter what's going on.
Yeah. And it's not only just making the bed, because you can make it, but to almost to make it with love, to make it really well, and to put, let's say, 5 minutes instead of like 30 seconds. And then to just really do it well. And then you feel like it does something to you and how you feel inside. And if you don't do it, I'm not talking to you guys necessarily, but whoever's listening, our 3 listeners. So if you don't do it, try it. Try it.
Yeah.
Because you will feel, I'm not kidding, a monumental difference on how you dictate the rest of your day. Just by doing that little, putting that little effort. And it could be whatever. But to me, visually, the space is so, so important. You know?
100%. Well, because I've also worked, I know when I was doing the one-man show and we were rehearsing, I was like, oh, let's just save money and rehearse at the house. But there is something to that, like, we tried it one time and I was like, this isn't going to work. And my director was like, yeah, I know a place. If you book the day of, it's super cheap. And it was, a place with all these studios for people to rehearse.
Yeah.
So that energy of like getting there and everyone's like in the lobby, like looking over lines and like walking in and out of the different rehearsal spaces. At the time, in the big space, they were rehearsing Sweeney Todd for Broadway. So like you're seeing all these famous actors, Broadway actors walking around like just in the halls, and you're like, yeah, we're doing like a real thing here. Like so there is something to that energy. But I think when it's the creative process, like writing jokes or like working on a script or something, I think you could definitely just do it at a coffee shop versus like a WeWork space, because that's a personal thing. Does that make sense? Like, I think if you're working with others, being in a more professional space kind of keeps everyone on task. But when it's just us, like, because as creatives, a lot of times we're just by ourselves. I think we could do that anyway.
I think just getting someplace that's not your home is like, okay, I'm here. I better do the thing.
Yeah, time to work.
But especially like that studio you rented. It's just like there's nothing else there. It's just this empty room.
That's what it's for, yeah.
And that's the beauty of that. In fact, even the beauty of when we're working more and we can get the podcast studio, that's way better, because then I don't have to go through what you're talking about. And like, believe it or not, I cleaned this place today. And, it is cool to just sit down and like knock it out. Yeah. We're here, and as soon as we're done, we're leaving.
Yeah.
Like we're down to business for this amount of time.
And, I heard that Bono from U2, because we're talking about creative spaces, but he would ride the subway to write his songs.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not sure if it's him or another artist as well, but they would go to like an emergency room and sit with, people coming in with like, with injuries and blood dripping from their noses, and to be in that space to create.
Sunday Bloody Sunday.
Blood. There you go.
Yeah, wow. I do it at the Met a lot. I look like a crazy person because Matt, you taught me this trick to just say it into the notes on your phone.
Yeah, right.
So I'll have my AirPods in, and I walk around the Met because it's air conditioned. It's nice. It's like one of those things I don't have to worry about the weather. So I like to walk and write. So I will literally just do laps around the Met. I'll look at different things, and then I'll see something happen, and I'll be like, oh, that reminds me, and I'll work. But I look like a psycho because I'll just be walking and be like, yeah, so then, you know what I mean? Like saying
Michelangelo's David has an average-sized cock.
Well, especially because some
thoughts. You look like an agent.
Some of my stuff, I'm like walking around, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, can your family tell that you have a drinking problem by your Netflix queue? And people are like, what?
Yeah, but then just at the end, just go, get it done today. And then people will think you're big time. And then when you're listening to it, you're like, yeah, write it right now. Don't wait.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting.
Museums,
the different creative places
and museums. It's you know what this is like a side note or idea, but what I love about museums is like try this out. This is really cool, man. If you stand in front of a painting, and you just stare at it, you just stare at the painting. That space between you and the painting. No one dares to go in between that space, which is unreal. I've tested this many times. It's almost like there's like a fence on both sides, where no one dares to penetrate. And I'm not talking about just like glancing at a painting. It's just like in the middle, like you see.
Once you shift to 1 foot,
right? Forget it.
Across your arms, like you don't fuck with that.
Right,
looking at that painting.
You got a whole bus of Europeans.
I do that. When I walk, if someone's taking a picture of like their buddy and they're like, I don't give, I'll just walk.
I was gonna say,
right.
But if someone's staring, I'm like, oh shit.
Yes.
Sorry.
I'm glad we're finally to the point where we can walk in front of people getting their picture taken.
Yeah.
Right.
Because people are getting their picture taken all goddamn day now. It's just not special.
Yeah, I don't care.
Right.
Yeah, you got so much film in that camera.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter if you fuck.
You literally can take millions of pictures.
Just take a video and take a frame.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
And there's something really special about museums.
It's that creative energy, especially at the Met, because it's like all those different sculptors and painters and everything is just in there. So I don't know. I know we've talked about this before, but I'm such a sucker for history that I'll look at a painting and I'll be like, "That fucking Van Gogh touched this painting.
Dude didn't even have any dental floss, and he still got this shit done.
Cut off his ear, and he's still here. But it's that weird energy of. I mean, I don't know. It might sound silly because I know a lot of people aren't big fans of museums, especially people in my life. They're like, "Why do you want to go to a museum?" It's like you are literally within an arm's length of something that one of the greatest geniuses of anyone's lifetime touch. Yeah. Like, isn't that cool? And they're like, not really. I want to watch TikToks. And I'm like, all right, I'll just go fuck myself. Cool.
That's art now.
Yeah.
TikTok. Yeah. TikTok, 15 seconds.
And you can literally, go to the Met. Man, I've been to the Met, I don't know how many times, but you'll never see the same Met.
Yeah.
It's always, they're always updating. They're always moving stuff.
Yeah,
it's
not only updating and moving, but it is so big.
Yeah.
It is so big. And if you really take the time to appreciate anything, you can stay in, a few rooms for hours.
Oh yeah. You're reading and like actually looking at it. There are times a lot where I will just, like I said, I put my headphones in and I'll just start walking and I'll end up in a place where I'm like, I didn't even know this was here.
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, it's just like, because there's certain stairwells that you go up and they're like, exhibits that I'm sure not a lot of people, it doesn't like bring the money in, but
like the music room. Have you been to the music room?
Yeah, the music room.
So cool, right? No one's there.
Yeah, and there's a branch. There's a room which is a branch off of the Asian and Pacific Islands like art. There's a branch where it's just Korea. And it's like a very small room, but like I wandered in there one day and no one was in there, and I was just like, "This is."
Is it north or south?
I think it's south. I would have to say. I don't think anything's allowed to leave the north, but yeah, it was not real big creatives in the north. At least they try not to be. It was just weird because I was like, "This is." I didn't even know this room existed.
Yeah,
and now I'm looking at some of like the coolest shit from that part of the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's motivating.
It is motivating, actually.
But you got to get to the museum.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
There you go.
Stephen Pressfield, we talk about him all the time, The War of Art. It's, just sit down and start.
Yeah.
Just sit down and start. And I do the same thing. I got home last night and I was like, I got to cut these clips. And and it seemed like an impossible task.
Yeah.
Because I was tired and I got home. It was like 11 o'clock when I got back from the stand. And I was just like, you have to do it. You have to.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Matt, where it's like, this is impossible.
Yeah, so I've gotten to the point where I've got this. When I reserved the special taping, I was like, I'll reserve it for a year from now, and I'll get ready. Well, now 3 months has already gone by since I reserved it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So like a quarter of it's just fucking gone. And I'm like, well, I want this to be more than just my material. I've got this whole other rearrangement. And this is like new jokes that make it all work, make it all tie together. And what I've realized is I have to go over it every day if I want to be comfortable with it, if I want to have fun with it, if I want to not be stressing about it. And you go, okay, an hour a day, that's a lot. That's like plenty of preparation. And it's not that difficult because it's just an hour a day. But to do it is just... It's difficult. Yeah. You're like, because you're just sitting there by yourself going over it and you don't want to deal with anything that's not working. You don't want to be like, this, I don't like this. Like, what are we going to do with it? It hurts to say it out loud. It hurts to work on it. It's painful. You can almost anticipate like it not working because it's not there yet. And but I'm making myself do it because that is the answer. That's the only way. And in a way, it's very simple. do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Do it.
Nike said it best.
And I'm just like, fuck, I haven't done it yet today.
Yeah.
And the dread is creeping in. And then as the second you start, or the minute you start, you're like, you start to feel alive. You start to feel like,
about to ask you just start going.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Why am I not doing this every second of my life? And when you're finished, and it just like working out, I'm exhausted at the end of the hour. I'm like, it's exactly like working out. You make yourself do it. You're glad you did it, and you only just bought yourself one more day. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, but at least what's cool about working out is if you really work out hard and you work out differently, and there's nothing like feeling that pain after the next day.
The soreness?
Yeah, the soreness really is a reminder that you did a good job.
Yeah, you did good work.
But you don't get that writing. You know what I mean? Like you
do though when you
perform it.
But also, when you perform it or when you go to work on the next day, your muscles are that much stronger.
Yeah.
And
you feel that much better.
But you don't. I mean, you don't feel that pain.
You don't. Probably not. No, you don't feel the pain as much, but you do. You do wait now. And the other good thing about doing something once a day is you start to think about it in your off time. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you gave 7 hours one day, you wouldn't be thinking about that hour of material all the time. You'd just be thinking about it like maybe the next day. Mm-hmm. But now it's like a whole process. It's in your subconscious.
Yeah,
it's just like it's in your muscle memory.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's interesting too because I think it's a different register as far as the creative process and working out, only to the sense where you want the pain when you work out because you know you did a good job. Mm-hmm. And I think for us it's similarly but opposite was you want the laughter. If when you're writing a joke. So it's still that same kind of thing though, where you write something and then if you go to try it the next day and it hits, you're like, fucking nailed it.
Mm-hmm. It takes me so long just to get a 30-second joke ready because it's like I got to say it perfectly.
Yeah.
I got to say it perfectly, and it takes me years to like make a 30-second joke like really work. And if I look at the different roads I went down, with a certain joke, it's like hilarious because it's like when you hear the Beatles like work out a song in that documentary. You're like, that's not how the song goes. Why did they think the song went that way?
Right.
It's the same thing. You're like, that was not the route.
Well, and I've heard it before just because as someone who listens to so much and watches so much comedy, I've listened to albums over and over and over, and then I'll go see the person live, and they'll do the bit, but they'll do it differently, and I'm like, that's not how it goes!
Right.
What are you doing? You left out my favorite part!
They're sick of it. It's evolved.
Yeah, it's totally
It's now acoustic.
Yeah.
What?
Unplugged.
What?
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how things evolve. That's why I love the mic scene, especially for someone at my level where I'm not doing I'm doing shows, but not nearly as many. Like I'm not doing like 3 or 4 or 5 shows a night, 3-4 nights a week. So for me, I love the mics because there's no accountability as far as I can work on whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want. Like, if I'm booked on shows, especially being newer to New York, it's like I have to crush every time, no variation, try to crush. But at mics, I can be like, I've been saying this joke this way and it's been getting laughs, but what if I tweak it this way? It might go horribly wrong, or it could get a bigger laugh.
Right.
And I don't feel any kind of pressure to be like, well, I have to perform or the club's not going to let me back.
Yeah.
And that's what, I know when you get to a certain level, it's kind of uncouth to go to mics because I have friends that I'm like, hey, you want to come to a mic? And they're like, no, dude.
Yeah. No, I don't see it. I don't think anyone's really above it.
Well, and it's fun too when some of the regulars from some of the clubs that are kind of, okay, I'll just talk the shit, that are kind of like at the clubs all the time, and they, they're always doing shows, and then they'll randomly be at a mic, and I'll be like, oh, hey, what's up, man? What are you doing here? And they're like, I just, was in the area, I want to do it. And then they'll do their like clubby like host set for the mic, and it bombs. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's not what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening?
We're here to be ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is motivating to constantly just be working on stuff. Mm-hmm. Like always tweaking it, always trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But then it also seems like it's going to be forever.
Yeah. Don't you think you need to like somehow work hard, but also separate the results? Otherwise, the work can seem more exhausting.
Yeah, that's true.
right? Like if
Yeah.
you're like, I need $1 million from this set.
Yeah.
This set is, I've got a fucking hit.
It's been
with
more-
this special. Is not maybe
You're working backwards.
it's not the right
You're working
motivation.
backwards, right?
Yeah.
You're focusing on the money.
That's a feeling
Big
I
money,
have.
big
Not
money, no
very
whammies,
familiar,
no way.
yeah.
You've got to make it all make sense, not just to you, but to like the fucking world.
Yeah, that's something
You know,
I'm very familiar
and
with.
that-
When you have zero expectation.
Exactly, you have to, and that goes against our upbringing, and it goes against our society, and it goes against our own expectations for ourselves.
Yep.
But it's the only way to do it.
I mean, we talked about this 2 weeks ago with the expectations and stuff, where I did the one-man show, and I remember saying when I first started doing it, worst case scenario, I'll pay a few $1,000s to get some fucking just great clips,
Yeah.
like some awesome high-def clips. Worst case scenario. And then the more work I put into it, the more I was like, this has got to hit. This has got,
Yeah.
and I almost went backwards. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
at first I was like, no expectation.
What do you mean
I don't care.
backwards?
My thinking when I first started working on the one man show was no expectations. I just want, this is something I want to say. I don't care if nobody sees it. This is something I want to do. And then the more work I put into it, the more my expectations started to rise, where it was like, no, I have to have people see this. It has to change my life. It has to change my career. And then it came out, and like we talked about 2 weeks ago, nothing happened. And it very quickly went back to, like, it humbled me in a way where I was like, oh yeah, that's not a big deal. Like, we didn't expect anything to happen when we
Right.
first started. Why through the process? It's almost like I was entitled. Does that make sense? Where I was like, I put so much into it, so now you have to like it.
Yes.
But that's not how the world works.
Not at all.
And I literally, after 2 weeks ago, it's these recordings always help me so much, because after
Yeah.
we recorded, I was like, yeah, fuck that, fuck all of that.
Right.
Like, I'll just cut it up and put it out, and if people see it, they see it, and if not, they don't. And then literally, I went in with that mindset, and the very next clip I posted got 20,000 views,
There
and
you
I was
go,
like,
man.
all right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this thing from Steve Vai, guitarist.
Steve Vai,
Yeah.
yes. Just for the audience sake, he played with David Lee Roth.
and
I think-
Ralph Macchio.
Really?
Well-
what do you mean?
He was in that movie, Crossroads.
Oh, really? I never
You never
saw
saw that
that
movie?
movie, no.
It's great.
The Karate Kid is now a guitar player, right?
he
Did he have to
plays,
win a competition or something?
Yeah, he did. He did.
of course
Did,
he
his
plays-
landlord teach him to play guitar?
He plays against Satan's guitarist.
Oh, he's going to lose.
He wins.
Spoiler. alert.
Yeah. So he said in an interview, like, you got to make music like no one is ever going to hear it.
Uh-huh.
Like, just do the music that you want to do.
That's funny because the only
and
song I
just-
know by him is called "The Audience Is Listening."
Really? I don't even know. I don't even know titles.
It's just one of those gratuitous guitar solo songs
Well,
that I
yeah.
fucking love.
Yeah.
You know.
And you can apply that to any of the arts. Like, write a book like no one's ever gonna read it. Just like write what you want to write, or write a joke that no one is gonna listen to, or where you expect no laughs. Just write what you really, like what you feel like doing with no structure necessarily, like no bridge, no chorus, no verse, no pre-chorus, and like just crescendo. Just forget all that and just write the song, the music that you want to write and how it feels right to you, and in that freedom. And I think very few people dare to do that because everybody just wants to be liked. Everybody wants approval. Everybody seeks love, and that's, and I get it because we're human. But what a crazy artistic trap.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a. That's where the true courage of a comic or an artist or a painter or anything. The true courage is to step beyond that and to just really do what they think. And you will have people that will follow you, and you'll have people that will unfollow you or hate you.
Yep.
Yeah.
But to have that be completely irrelevant and just do what you want to do. And a comic comes to mind right now is Tyler Fisher. Mm-hmm. Who just during the pandemic did what he wanted to do, what he thought was funny, what helped him deal with the whole pandemic situation. and he couldn't care less, and he was losing friends. He was being unfollowed. People started hating on him, and he just did what he thought was right. And I got a haircut in Montreal a few months ago, and the barber asked me if I heard of him, if I knew him. And I'm like, fuck, good for him, man.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I think any artist...
He's the number one comedian for people cleaning up hair.
Yeah. I think everyone needs to strive towards that and just do what you think is...
Well, that's why I'm glad I took this hour special on, because there's certain parts of it where I go, this ain't going to work in a club. This ain't going to work at the Funny Bone. This isn't like... my funniest.
Do you think George Carlin
part.
gave a fuck?
That's what I'm saying. So it's like I'm making something, and so I'm going to make it how I want it to be.
Absolutely.
And there might even be some things that I never do at the Funny Bone in the special, but it helps bridge the gap, and it makes everything make sense. And I don't care if you like it or not, because I'm going to add laughter to it.
Well,
man, I cried in mine.
That's what Just for Laughs did. They do with galas, and everything's edited, and everything is, nothing. At the end of the day, man, it's like I saw
nothing's real.
I know. I saw this Netflix special with what's it called? They have four or five comics per show, and you clearly see
the stand-ups.
And you clearly see you clearly see they had two shows, and you clearly see the audiences change from joke to joke.
Yep.
And it's like,
and you can actually see how they add it, because
if you can have some like a blonde person in the front row, or a black dude with a hoodie, and it's a white hoodie, or whatever, someone that really stands out,
and then they're not there,
and then it's another person. It's like, man, it's like nothing's real.
Well, and you'll see like laughter, or you'll hear laughter, but you won't see anybody move.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, like we all know how people laugh. Like it's ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
And you won't see anybody move, and you go, I fucking added that.
You know what I just saw? I'm not going to mention the comic's name, but I just saw a special, and and this turned me off. This made me turn off the special. Within a minute, it opened. The comics goes on stage, and as she goes on stage, she gets a standing O. But it was clearly taken from the end of the show, where they edited, they took the standing O at the end of the show, they put it at the beginning, and because you could see they're sitting, and then the next shot they're standing, and she's like saying hi to everyone, and she's so excited, but then the next shot everyone's sitting, and then the next shot people are standing up, and it's like, of course it's poorly edited, and you should be totally made aware of that, but it's like it's just fake, it's like as long as you keep an eye on that with whatever you choose to do.
But
you know
it's
what I mean?
fake on top of that. Like, it is maybe from the end of the show, but it's also at the end of the show. They go, all right, everybody stand up and clap.
Right. This is the finale. We want an encore.
Or you could do the thing where...
you do whatever you want.
I do it all the time, where it's like, all I have to do if I want to get a big applause break is just mention, I just came up on 5 years sober. At least 12 seconds of, oh my God.
They do, other than that, too, at a special, though, they go, all right, I want everybody to give the warm-up guy goes, I want everybody to give the biggest laugh they can.
Right.
And
or you could just throw in at the end, like, this means so much to me. I worked so hard on, and then everyone's gonna stand up and start clapping. Like, you can tweak with your own words how you can make the audience react. Yeah. That's what we all do.
Yeah.
So and it's also cultural. Like, I do comedy in French, and in Montreal, in Quebec specifically, when they have these big gala shows, it is. It's part of the culture to get at the end of a 8-minute televised set to give a standing ovation.
I like that.
And I know, bro.
I was thinking the same thing.
And if you don't get a standing ovation, you're really bombed.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it really plays with the egos of a lot of French Canadian comics. Like, I got a standing ovation. I'm like, bro, everyone got a standing ovation.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't matter. But there is something really. As long as one, it doesn't play with your false sense of self.
Yeah.
And two, there is something really endearing and encouraging about having an audience just stand up for you.
Yeah.
I think it's
super cool.
That's where the real stand up
Yeah.
has meaning.
Yeah.
It's not you
I'll tell
doing
you-
stand up. It's them standing up.
I'll tell you what it's like when it happens to me. I'm a fucking standing O. My whole goddamn life. My friend Lachlan Patterson, his whole thing used to be for a while, would just be like, he'd do it every once in a while. I'd be like,
Right.
I heard Richmond, Virginia likes to give standing O's. And he'd just get standing O's in people's heads through the whole set to where like he'd mention standing O's
Right.
like 5-6
Right,
times
right,
to the
right.
point where he get to standing.
That's what I'm talking about. You put it in people's heads, and I mean,
That's a funny way to do it.
Yeah,
That's
my-
hilarious.
That's the best way to do it. Yeah.
I have a buddy of mine, Mike Patterson, Montreal comedian, does the same thing. He's like, I don't want a standing O at the end of the show. I don't want a
No,
standing
I don't
O.
want
Whatever
it.
you do, just don't stand up.
Don't stand up.
And it's you do the first time I got a standing O, I never got it in, it's not part of American culture unless you're in a theater and you're taping a set or something. But in a comedy club, forget it. But in
You can get a standing beer chucked at you.
in French, it's weird. It's just weird. And it's just bizarre that you get that much love for 7-8 minutes, because we're just used to being treated like porn stars.
Yes.
It's like you're done. They spit on you and you get out of here.
Yeah.
And maybe the next guy will shit on you like verbally when he gets up.
And that'll go viral.
There's a little picture of you in the corner. This dick.
But there is something beautiful to say about that French Canadian culture. That they're very giving.
Yeah, they show appreciation
they're
for what
very
you've done.
loving. They're very excited to be there. And there's pros and cons. It serves a purpose to encourage you, but it also, I think, it makes you softer than you could be. Going through the grinder in New York.
You said softer, and that literally, I've never thought of this before. Because I've always been like, get to New York, we're all hard comics and we do shitty shows and why the fuck does it have to be so hard? Like we're trying to invoke the rawest, happiest emotion, which is laughter, and people are like, you got to be hard, you got to go through the grind. It's like, what are we talking about, man?
It's not necessarily true. It's just kind of what.
But isn't it?
It's kind of how it is.
That's how I thought about it my entire life. And then when you just said that, I was like, yeah, that does seem nice. I've worked I've worked so hard on all this, and then you're going to appreciate it, stand up, and give me a clap. Like that. And then you were like, yeah, sometimes it makes some sense. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess it does, but why is that a bad thing?
I'll tell you. Okay.
Well, no, I was just going to say you don't get a standing O in the States, but you still get a courtesy clap at the end, which you don't always deserve.
Yeah.
So we do have it a little bit.
That's true.
Yeah, but sometimes they clap because you left the stage.
And I'll take it. I'm happy too.
Hey, applause break is an applause break.
I think, listen, personally, when I get comfortable, I get uncomfortable. And that's what I mean by soft. I mean, that's why I left Montreal. I left Montreal because I had done
too many standing O's, baby.
Right. Done.
They're still clapping.
Someone's still standing.
I did the festival in English. I did the festival in French. I was headlining both comedy clubs in English, and then you hit a ceiling quite early if you're good enough.
Yeah.
Not great, but good enough. Looking back, I don't think I should have headlined 4 years into comedy. I don't think I was ready to headline, but they were good enough. The owners, the managers, the bookers to believe in me that I can do it, and that was extremely encouraging. And that kind of gives you the courage to say, I could do this. So I can do New York, but you will hit a ceiling, and when I get too comfortable, that kills my creativity. And that's what I mean by soft.
That's true. Okay,
it's like the last thing you want is
sense,
to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
then everything comes easy, and then you start losing the crowd when you start talking. I remember, what's his name? Who does impressions of Michael Jackson, used to tour with him. I'm having like this crazy brain.
Yeah. But he toured with Michael Jackson.
What's his name? Rush Hour. Tucker.
Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker. So I remember he would tell jokes about his chopper and like, you know, like, but like no one, and I think that this happened at Levity Live years ago. And like, who can relate to that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, there's a lot of comics who talk about
when
that.
there's no longer, you know, stand-up is an art for the people.
Yeah.
It's blue collar.
It's not an elitist.
Yeah.
It's not the theater.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who's like, I mean, this is a big thing at the store from just stories I've heard, and then obviously in New York, but it's like, yeah, you go up at these basically showcases because it's not your audience, and you will really find out what is funny and what is not funny when it's not your audience. Because if you're just touring all the time and people pay to come see you and you're the draw, then yeah, they're going to laugh at inside jokes and podcast reference. They're going to laugh at all of it.
Yeah.
But you go to, you know, the belly room, or excuse me, you go to the original room or whatever on a, you know, 10 o'clock on a Saturday, they're not there to see you specifically for the most part. So it's like, we'll figure it out real quick. They've never heard your podcast.
Right.
They've never seen your specials. Like, so I mean, yeah, in that sense, yeah, you are absolutely right about the soft versus like actually doing the work. But sometimes people are so mean.
There's also something to be said
the world
for.
is mean.
There's also something to be said for feel loved.
Yeah.
When you're on stage, and sometimes you get it without deserving it. Like you just walk up there and the crowd's in a good mood or whatever, and that's a freedom to push yourself as well. You can grow within something easy. And within something filled with love as well. Yeah. Like that works too. Unfortunately, you're not going to get that often.
Well, I think it goes back to that whole idea where I'm kind of answering my own question, especially with what you were saying, Daniel, is we have to have the hard sets because then the fun sets are so much more fun and so much more freeing and so much more loving. Yeah. Like there are times, because my comedy's a little darker, there are times where I get up and the first two jokes don't hit and I go, oh, this is going to suck.
Yeah, man.
And then there's when the first one hits, hits, and you're like, oh, we're going to have a great fucking time.
Right.
And so
how am I going to lose these motherfuckers?
Yeah, there's nothing
and we do.
And that's exactly what you do. After about 12 minutes, they're like, not as cute. Not your best work.
What do you think about it? Isn't it really weird? Isn't it so bizarre that, you know, we are performing for literally miserable people. Yeah. Because how miserable do you have to be? I'm not kidding.
No, you're absolutely right.
To pay $35 plus 2-drink minimum and bring a date, which is $150 a night, so you can have a stranger.
Manufacture laughter.
And like, because a person who has so much laughter in their lives on a daily basis, like they don't even think of going to comedy because they are fulfilled.
Yeah.
It's the people who are unfulfilled that need.
We are strippers.
Yes.
Like you can't make your own humor. You have to come to us.
We are
emotional strippers.
We are performing for miserable people. Like the most miserable people. The ones willing to spend their own money.
So come out and see us, folks. You miserable fucks. I think we got to wrap it up, actually. Brandon's got that hard out. Speaking, he's got the motivation.
Yes, the motivation.
To get going.
This was fun.
This was good. I feel like I can take on the world.
Let's go.
Or at least get to the pool and swim some laps. Thanks for listening. Cutie outro. Thanks for listening to The Power of How. Music by Daniel Torado. Artwork by Nelson Diaz. Follow us on all the social medias at The Power of How Podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe. And check us out at patreon.com/The Power of How Podcast. Send us some positive vibes in the form of U.S. currency. See you next week, everybody.